Hi everyone, this is Cheryl and welcome to my sewing room. This is block number 2 of the Novice Beginners Sampler Quilt 2019. If you're interested in doing this quilt and you want to review the supplies needed, go to the end of this video where you'll see a green screen and click on the link that says Novice Beginners Sampler Quilt 2019. Okay, let's get started, everyone. I'm going to go over a couple of questions that the viewers asked. One was, how often are you going to put out a video on the different blocks? I'm going to try to do one per week. The other question was, can I use other than just the 2 sizes of rulers? And yes, you can. If you wanted to, you could use this 6.5-inch square ruler, but you can still make this quilt with just using the 2 rulers that I recommended in the very first video. Here is block number 2. This is the layout. And you've got a few more pieces in this one, but it's just a little bit more cutting that you have to do. Out of fabric A, you're going to need 1 6.5-inch square. You'll also need 4 3.5-inch squares. Fabric B, 4 3.5-inch squares. Fabric C, 3.5 by 6.5, and you'll need 4 of those. This is my fabric B 3.5-inch squares, and remember you need 4. On the back side of each of those squares, you're going to draw a line from corner to corner. Place your ruler on there, line it up, and using a pencil or a fabric marker, draw a line. And make sure you do it on all 4 pieces. Take your fabric A 6.5-inch square fabric, have it front side up. Then take 2 of your fabric B 3.5-inch squares and place them in opposite corners of each other. The lines are going from the outside edges across this way and across this way. You're going to stitch on this side of the line over here and over here. Don't stitch on top of the line, but right next to it, and again stitch on the outside side of the line here and here. After you've done that, then press your fabric, and you're going to trim some of this fabric off. Place your 1/4-inch line on your stitch line and go ahead and trim this off. Do the same thing on this side. Place your 1/4-inch line on the stitch line and go ahead, whoops, I lost my place, there we go, and trim this off. Then at your ironing board, you're going to press the fabric going this way. When you're pressing, press the seams going towards these outside triangles. Then flip it over to the front and go ahead and place your last 2 squares in opposite corners. And make sure that your lines are going across this way. Repeat the first step and stitch on this side of the line really close to the line. And same thing over here. So you're stitching on the outside of the line on both sides. After stitching the last 2 squares on, trim off the excess fabric in the corner, place the 1/4-inch line on your stitch line and trim this off. Then do the same thing on this side. Place your 1/4-inch line on that stitch line and then trim it off. Then go to your ironing board and press these open, and again you're pressing the seams towards your corner half square triangles. This is what the block looks like on the back, and here it is on the front. After you've done all of your stitching and your pressing and your trimming, you want to square the block to 6.5 inches. So center either your 12.5 square ruler on there and verify that nothing is sticking out past those edges. If it is, go ahead and use your rotary cutter and trim anything off. If your block is way off, you need to step back, figure out what you did wrong. You either didn't cut the fabric correctly, or you didn't stitch in the right place. Something went wrong. So before you go any farther, go back and figure out what happened. This is the fabric C, and it's the 3.5 by 6.5 inch pieces of fabric. Bring them front side down on top of your block. Line up your edges and stitch 1/4 of an inch. Then press on the back side. Unfold and press on top. Make sure your seams are pressed going towards the outside strips. Take your other 2 fabric C strips and place fabric A 3.5 inch squares at each end and stitch 1/4 of an inch. You're doing this on both of them. Then press the seams, unfold, and press on top. And this time you're pressing the seams towards this 6.5 inch long strip. Take your block, have it front side up, take your strips, place them on top, and line up your seams. It should feel nice and flat in there if you've got them in there correctly. Make sure the seam on the bottom is going in the opposite direction than the one on top. Place pins to hold the seam on both seams. Do the same thing with the other strip. Place it on there, match your seams, pin them, then stitch 1/4 inch along here and along here. After you finish stitching, press your seams on the back side. Then open it up and press your seams on top. And you're pressing your seams towards this outside strip along here. After you've done all of your pressing, then always square your block up and make sure you're right on track with it. And lay it on there and center that ruler over your block. And if anything is sticking out, then trim that off. Now I went over on how to square your block in the very first video on block number 1. So review that if you're not quite sure how to do it. To make the sampler quilt, remember, make 2 blocks using this pattern and try to use different fabrics in each block. If you didn't see the video on the supplies needed or block number 1, go to the end of this video. You'll see a green screen and click on the link that says Novice Beginners Sampler Quilt. Also on that green screen, you will see other quilt projects that you can do. If you liked this video, click on thumbs up and click on share to share this video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red button down there in the lower right-hand portion of your screen. Enter your email address and click on the little bell so that you receive future email notifications about my latest video. I'm Cheryl, and I'm so glad you came to my sewing room. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing!